ECL Eligibility Judgment Analysis. To everyone, just so we understand each other, please, this is my understanding of the latest Court judgment on ECL eligibility case and my honest opinion on the matter. This does not represent any official position, but merely my opinions, just like anyone can hold an opinion on anything. Having said that, I now go straight to the issues. Why was ECL eligible to stand as a presidential candidate in 2021 and now ineligible to stand for future elections with effect from 10th December 2024? Point number one, the law, as I am made to understand, is that judgments of the courts on certain matters is law. If this is correct, it is fair to state that in this sense courts are lawmakers. They can make a new law or change an existing one through their judgments. This is the starting point, and it's very important that we understand this. The answer to the question why ECL was eligible in 2021 and ineligible now, as of 10th December 2024, becomes simple. The answer to the question is because the court changed the law in its recent judgment when they interpreted Article 106, subsection 6 of the Constitution differently from the way they interpreted the same article in previous judgments on the same matter. They also took into account other matters which were not considered in the other judgments. Article 106/6 of the Constitution was the bedrock on which all other previous judgments rested on. Now, can you see my reasoning? By changing the interpretation of this bedrock called Article 106/6, which the judgments relied on, through this new judgment of December 10th, 2024, the old judgments collapse and die. See what I mean? When the court declared ECL eligible to stand in 2021, whether right or wrongly, it was law, and by that court judgment or law, he was eligible. Now, the court in this new judgment have corrected their mistake and declare him ineligible. By the same token, this is law and it stands, just like in the previous judgments. The previous judgments, which were in favor of ECL made before the recent judgment, Article 106/6 of the Constitution was interpreted to mean that if a vacancy occurs in the office of president and less than 3 years remain before the next general elections, the person who takes over that uncompleted presidential term is eligible to be elected to the office of president for 2 more terms in addition to the term taken over. This was the basis of all the previous judgments which cleared ECL to stand in 2021. The recent Court judgment on 10th December 2024 changed all that. Reading from page J56 to page J61 of this judgment, the Court has given a whole new meaning of Article 106/6, which is quite different from the views held in the previous judgments. In my opinion, Article 106/6 of the Constitution, where the previous judgments were anchored on, has been made irrelevant by this judgment in matters to do with eligibility of presidential candidates standing in an election. But who am I to say that anyway? I may be wrong in my assumption, and I stand to be corrected. The only relevant article now to do with the eligibility of a person to stand as a presidential candidate in an election is Article 106/3, which talks about holding office twice. Finished. Holding office means to be president of the Republic of Zambia from the time you are sworn into office up to the next swearing of the president into office. The first time you are sworn into office as president of Zambia is the first time you hold office. Likewise, the second time you are sworn in is the second time you hold office. After that, you are ineligible. Finished. In summary, the earlier judgments in favor of ECL had 3 main flaws in them, which the recent judgment has corrected. 1. The first mistake was the wrong interpretation of Article 106/6, as stated already, which resulted in a wrong meaning of the article. 2. The retrospective application of the same Article 106/6 to apply to ECL's first term in office was also wrong, just like its interpretation was. Third, failure to take into account Sections 2 and 7 of Act No. 1 of 2016, thereby rendering the judgments per incurium. Does ECL qualify to stand as a running mate to a presidential candidate? The answer is a big no. Again, the reason is simple. The people of Zambia said no to presidential by-elections. This is why we have running mates in presidential elections, for this very reason, that if a vacancy occurs in the office of president, the vice president fills the vacancy without having a by-election. ECL is ineligible to stand as a running mate because a running mate should be someone who is eligible to hold the office of president. Should a vacancy arise, ECL is not. If a situation arises where ECL is the Republican vice president and a vacancy occurs in the office of president, that vacancy can only be filled through a presidential by-election, which Zambians do not want. Anyway, I do not think anyone would willingly demote himself or herself for anything, anywhere, in any organization. If it happens, it will be the first of its kind. Thank you all for listening. Let me hear what you think of my analysis. Please, I beg you, no insulting language. Let's respect each other's views. Until next time, goodbye.